This is the Digitally Remastered Network.
Molly? 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 It's funny. His cap's gone. And his galoshes.
The rat left the house and carefully examined the muddy surface of the ground outside, hoping to find the mole's tracks. There they were, sure enough. He could see the imprints of the new galoshes in the mud, running along straight and purposeful, leading direct to the wild wood. The rat looked very grave and stood in deep thought for a minute or two. Then he re-entered the house, strapped a belt around his waist, shoved a brace of pistols into it, took up a stout cudgel that stood in the corner of the hall, and set off for the wild wood at a smart pace. It was already getting towards dusk when he reached the first fringe of trees and plunged without hesitation into the wood. He made his way manfully through the length of the wood, working over the whole ground.
Molly! Molly! Where are you? It's me! Molly, it's old Rat! Molly! Molly!
Ratty, is that really you?
Mo! Mo! Oh, where are you?
Here in the hollow of this beech tree.
Oh, you shouldn't have come here, Mole.
Oh, Rat, I've been so frightened you can't think.
And I quite understand, poor old Mole. I did my best to keep you from it. We riverbankers, we hardly ever come here by ourselves. But if we have to come, we come in couples at least.
Surely the brave Mr. Toad wouldn't mind coming here by himself, would he?
Oh, Toad! He wouldn't show his face here alone, not for a whole hatful of golden guineas. Toad wouldn't. Now then, we really must pull ourselves together and make a start for home while there's still a little light left. We'll never do to spend the night here. Well, too cold, for one thing.
Dear Ratty, I'm dreadfully sorry, but I'm simply dead beat.
Oh.
That's a solid fact.
Oh,
You must let me
understand.
rest here a while longer and get my strength back if I'm to get home at all.
Oh, all right. It's pretty nearly pitch dark now anyway, and it ought to be a bit of a moon later.
So the mole got well into the dry leaves and stretched himself out and presently dropped off into a broken and troubled sleep. The rat lay patiently waiting with a pistol in his paw. At last the mole woke up, much refreshed and in his usual spirits.
Oh, now then. Now, I'll just take a look outside and see if everything's quiet, and then we really must be off. Hello? Oh, look at this.
What's up, Ratty?
Snow's up. Or rather down. It's snowing hard.
Oh.
Well, can't be helped. We must make a start and take our chance, I suppose. Worst of it is, I don't exactly know where we are. Now this snow makes everything look so very different.
It did indeed. However, they set out bravely, holding on to each other and pretending with invincible cheerfulness that they recognized an old friend in every fresh tree that grimly and silently greeted them. An hour or two later, they had lost all count of time. They pulled up, dispirited, weary, and hopelessly lost.
There seems to be no end to this wood, Ratty, and no beginning, and worst of all, no way out.
Well, we can't sit here very long. We shall have to make another push for it. Let's make our way over there where the ground seems all hilly and humpy and hummocky. Maybe we'll find some sort of shelter, a cave or a hole with a dry floor to it, out of the snow and wind.
I'll try, but I'm pretty dead beat.
Come along, come along.
Oh, my leg! Oh, my poor shin!
Poor old mole. You don't seem to be having much luck today, do you? Come on, let's have a look at the leg.
Oh, I must have tripped over a hidden branch or a stump. Oh, my. Oh, my.
It's a very clean cut. Looks as if it was made by a sharp edge of something metal. Funny.
Well, never mind what done it. It hurts just the same, whatever done it.
I wonder what made that cut.
Oh, come on, Rat.
Hooray! Hooray!
What have you found, Ratty?
Oh, come and see, come and see.
But I see it right enough. Seen the same sort of thing before lots of times. A door scraper.
yes,
Well, what of it?
But don't you see what it means?
Of course I see what it means. It simply means that some very careless and forgetful person has left his door scraper lying about in the middle of the wild wood, just where it's sure to trip everybody up.
Oh dear. Well, stop arguing and come and scrape. There. What did I tell you, eh?
A very shabby doormat. Well, now I suppose you're perfectly happy now that you found another piece of domestic litter, done for and thrown away. Can we eat a doormat? Or sleep under a doormat? Or sit on a doormat and sledge home over the snow on it? You exasperating rodent!
Do you mean to say that this doormat doesn't tell you anything?
Really, Rat, I think we've had enough of this folly. Who ever heard of a doormat telling anyone anything?
Oh, now look here, you thick-headed beast. This must stop. Not another word, but scrape and scratch and dig and hunt, especially on the sides of the hummocks, if you want to sleep dry and warm tonight, for it's our last chance. Hey, come on.
Oh. I'm afraid you're getting a bit light-headed, old Ratty, but I'll scrape.
That's it. Mole, give me your hand here.
It's a little door, painted dark green.
And look at this, Moley, an iron bell paw, what, eh?
There's a small brass plate beneath it. Here, let's see. Mr. Badger.
Oh, we did it.
Rat, you're a wonder. I see it all now. You argued it out step by step in that wise head of yours from the very moment that I fell and cut my shin. And you looked at the cut, and at once your majestic mind said to itself, door scraper. Well, I've read about that sort of thing in books, but I've never come across it before in real life.
Well, I suppose you're going to sit on the snow all night and talk, eh? Get up at once and hang on to that bell pull you see there and ring hard as you can while I hammer, eh?
They waited patiently for what seemed a very long time, stamping in the snow to keep their feet warm. At last, they heard the sound of slow, shuffling footsteps approaching the door from the inside.
Someone's coming, Ratty, walking in slippers that are too large for him and down at the heel.
Now, the very next time this happens, I shall be exceedingly angry. Who is at this time disturbing people on such a night? Speak up, speak up.
Oh, Badger, let us in, please. It's me. It's Rat and my friend Mole, and we've lost our way in the snow.
What, Ratty? Oh, my dear little man, come along in, both of you at once.
Oh, thank you,
Why,
Badger.
you must be perished, lost in the snow and in the wild wood, too, and at this time of night. But come in with you, in with you. This is not the sort of night for small animals to be out. I'm afraid you've been up to some of your pranks again, Ratty. But come along into the kitchen. Into the kitchens, there's the first-rate fire there, and supper and everything. Come in, come in.
Badger shuffled on in front of them, carrying the light, and they followed him down a long, gloomy, and to tell the truth, decidedly shabby passage into a sort of central hall. There were several long, tunnel-like passages leading off, and many stout oaken doors. One of these the Badger flung open, and at once they found themselves in all the glow and warmth of a large, fire-lit kitchen. In the middle of the room stood a long table of plain boards placed on trestles with benches down each side. At one end of it, where an armchair stood pushed back, lay the remains of the Badger's plain but ample supper. Rows of spotless plates winked from the shelves of the dresser at the far end of the room, and from the rafters overhead hung hams, bundles of dried herbs, nets of onions, and baskets of eggs. It seemed a place where heroes could fitly feast after victory, where weary harvesters could line up in scores along the table, or where 2 or 3 friends of simple tastes could sit about as they pleased and eat and smoke and talk in comfort and contentment. The kindly badger thrust them down on a wooden bench to toast themselves at the fire and bade them remove their wet coats and boots. Then he fetched them dressing gowns and slippers. With weary legs propped up in front of them, all that they had suffered in the cold and trackless wild wood seemed a half-forgotten dream. At last they were thoroughly toasted. The badger summoned them to the table. Conversation was impossible for a long time. When supper was really finished at last, and each animal felt that his skin was now as tight as was decently safe, the badger said heartily,
Now then, tell us the news from your part of the world. How is old Toad going on?
Oh, from bad to worse. Another smash-up only last week, and a bad one. You see, he insists on driving himself, and he's hopelessly incapable.
If he'd only employ a decent, steady, well-trained animal, pay him good wages and leave the driving to him, he'd get on all right.
He's convinced he's a heaven-born driver, and nobody can teach him anything.
How many has he had?
What, smashes or machines? Oh, well, after all, it's the same thing with Toad. This is the 7th.
He's been in the hospital 3 times, and as for the fines he's had to pay, it's simply awful to think
yes,
of.
yeah. Killed or ruined, it's got to be one of the two things, sooner or later. Badger, we're his friends. Oughtn't we to do something?
No. Of course, you know I can't do anything now, it being a winter and all. But when once the year has really turned and we all rouse ourselves a bit, well, then we... That is you and me and our friend the mole here. We'll take Toad seriously in hand. We'll bring him back to reason, by force if need be. We'll make him be a sensible Toad. You're a sleep rat.
Not me.
He's been asleep 2 or 3 times since supper.
Well, it's time we were all in bed, you know. Come along, you two, and I'll show you to your quarters. And take your time tomorrow morning. Breakfast at any hour you please. Come along.
The 2 tired animals came down to breakfast very late next morning and found a bright fire burning in the kitchen and 2 young hedgehogs sitting on a bench at the table eating oatmeal porridge out of wooden bowls. They dropped their spoons and rose to their feet as the rat and mole entered.
Oh, there. Sit down and go on with your porridge, what, eh? Where have you 2 youngsters come from, Lost your way in the snow, I suppose, eh? Huh?
Yes, please, sir. Me and little Billy here, we was trying to find our way to school. Mother would have us go, and of course we lost ourselves, sir. And Billy, he got frightened and took and cried, being young and faint-hearted. At last we happened up against Mr. Badger's back door and made so bold as to knock, sir, for Mr. Badger.
Oh.
He's a kind-hearted gentleman.
Yes, I understand.
Where's Mr. Badger now?
The master's gone into his study, sir, and he said as how he was going to be particularly busy this morning, and on no account was he to be disturbed.
Oh, I see. Billy, just run and see who that is. Badger's busy in the usual way at this time of year, Moley. He's in his study, settled in an armchair, with his legs up on another and a red cotton handkerchief over his face.
But I find you here all right. They were all in a great state of alarm along Riverbank when I arrived this morning. Rat never been home all night, nor Mole either. Something dreadful must have happened, they said. But I knew that when people were in any fix, they mostly went to Badger, or else Badger got to know of it somehow, so I came straight off here.
Weren't you at all, nervous?
Nervous? I'd give them nerves if any of them tried anything on with me. Here, Mole, fry me some slices of ham like the good little chap you are. I'm frightfully hungry.
Hello, everyone. It must be getting on for luncheon time. Better stop and have it with us, Otter. You must be hungry this cold morning.
Well, the sight of these young hedgehogs stuffing themselves with fried ham makes me feel positively famished.
Here, you two youngsters be off home to your mother. I'll send someone with you to show you the way. Here's 6 pence apiece. Now get along home. Get along, get along.
Thank you, sir.
Well, now, what about a bit of lunch,
Yes, that's
Oh,
splendid idea.
yes. Oh, my. Your place is splendidly comfortable and homelike. Once well underground, you know exactly where you are. Nothing can happen to you, and nothing can get at you. Things go on all the same overhead, and you let them and don't bother about them. When you want to, up you go, and there the things are waiting for you.
That's exactly what I say. There's nothing like living underground. Why don't I show you around the place while these fellows put together some lunch,
I'd like that very much.
Ratty, you and Otter set a few things out for lunch, There's plenty, just look around.
Very well, Badger.
Meanwhile, I'll just show Mr. Mole around. You understand what domestic architecture ought to be, you do.
Wait, how about having some ham?
Come along. You know there's no security or peace or tranquility except underground. Nobody looking over your wall, and above all, no weather. Look at Rat now. A couple of feet of floodwater, and he's got to move. And take Toad. I say nothing against Toad Hall. Quite the best house in these parts as a house. But suppose a fire breaks out. Where's Toad? Supposing tiles are blown off, or walls sink or crack, or windows get broken. Where's Toad? Supposing the rooms are drafty. I hate a draft myself. Where's Toad? No. Up and out of doors is good enough to roam about and get one's living in. But underground, to come back to at last. That's my idea of home.
My feelings precisely.
As they moved along, Badger led the way, holding the lantern high to allow Mole to see the many rooms and passageways. Mole was staggered at the size, the extent, the ramifications of it all, the crammed store chambers, the masonry everywhere, the pillars, the arches, the pavements.
How on earth, Badger, did you ever find time and strength to do all this? Well, it's astonishing.
Oh, it would be astonishing indeed if I had done it. But as a matter of fact, I did not do it. Only cleaned out the passages and chambers as far as I had need of them. There's lots more of them all round about, you know. What? I see you don't understand, and I must explain it to you. Well, very long ago, on the spot where the wild wood waves now, there was a city of people. They were a powerful people and rich and great builders.
But what has become of them all?
Who can tell? People come, they stay for a while, they flourish, they build, and they go. It's their way. But we remain. There were badgers here, I have been told, long before that same city ever came to be. And now there are badgers here again.
And what happened when they went, those people?
Oh, when they went, the strong winds and persistent rains took the matter in hand, patiently, ceaselessly, year after year. And it was all down, gradually ruin and leveling and disappearance. Then it was all up, gradually, as seeds grew to saplings, and saplings to forest trees, and bramble and fern came creeping in to help. In the course of time, our home was ready for us again, and we moved in. Well, we'd better get back, or those boys will think we're not interested in lunch,
So they made their way back to Rat and Otter and had an abundant meal. Then Badger led them through a long passage that let them out right at the edge of the wood. Otter, who knew all the paths, took charge, and they started back to Rat's home on the riverbank. December had come, and winter was getting on, and still Mole did not return to his old home that he had hurriedly forsaken that day when he first found the river. But one night, as he and Water Rat were returning across country after a day's outing with Otter, Mole stopped dead in his tracks, his nose searching hither and thither. It was one of those mysterious fairy calls from out the void that made him tingle through and through.
Home. Ratty, hold on. Come back. I want you. Quick.
Oh, come along, Moldoon.
Oh, please stop, Ratty. It's my home. My old home. I've just come across the smell of it, and it's close by here. I must go to it. I must.
No, we mustn't stop now, really. Well, we'll come back for it tomorrow, whatever it is you found. But it's late and the snow's coming on again, so come on, quick, there's a good fellow. Come on. We'll have a jolly fire and a tremendous supper, and tomorrow we'll sleep late, but we've still got a good walk before us. Look here, old Mole, old chap, you do seem dead tired. No talk left in you, and your feet dragging like lead. We'll sit down here for a minute and rest, what is it, old fellow? Oh, tell us your trouble and let me see what I can do, eh?
I know it's a shabby, dingy little place, not like your cozy quarters, or Toad's beautiful hall, or Badger's great house, but it was my home, and I was fond of it, and I went away and forgot all about it, and then I smelt it suddenly on the road. But when I called, you wouldn't listen, and when you wouldn't turn back, Ratty, I had to leave it, though I was smelling it all the time. I thought my heart would break.
Oh, there. Oh, I see it all now. What a pig I've been. A pig, that's me. Just a plain pig. Well, come on. Now we really better be getting on, old chap. Come on.
Wherever are you going to, Ratty? You're going back?
We're going to find that home of yours, old fellow. Come on.
It's too late and too dark, and the place is too far off, and the snow's coming, and I never meant to let you know I was feeling that way about it, and think of Riverbank and your supper.
Hang Riverbank and supper, too. I'm going to find your place now if I stay out all night. Now, come on, no more talking. Business. Use your nose and give your mind to it,
They moved off in the direction of the place where Mole had first been aware of his home. The signals were again coming through. Mole stood a moment rigid, while his uplifted nose, quivering slightly, felt the air. Rat kept close to his heels as the Mole, with something of the air of a sleepwalker, nosed his way over a field open and trackless and bare in the faint starlight. Suddenly he dived, but Rat was on the alert and promptly followed him down the tunnel to which his unerring nose had faithfully led him.
Well, look at this.
Let me light a lantern so you can see my courtyard. There.
My, so this is Mole End. Why, Moley, it's lovely. Look at these wire baskets with ferns and these statues. Isn't this Queen Victoria, eh?
Well, come inside and we'll take a look round the old place. Oh, Ratty, why ever did I do it? Why did I bring you to this poor, cold, and dusty little place on a night like this, when you might have been at Riverbank toasting your toes before a blazing fire with all your own nice things about you?
What a capital little house this is. So compact, so well planned. Oh, we'll make a jolly night of it. Now, the first thing we want is a good fire. I'll see to that. So this is the parlour. Splendid. Your own idea, those little sleeping bunks in the wall? Oh, capital. Now, I'll fetch the wood and the coals, and you get a duster, Mole. Bustle about, old chap, eh?
Ratty, how about your supper, you poor, cold, hungry, weary animal? I've nothing to give you. Nothing, not a crumb.
Oh, what a fellow you are for giving in, eh? Why, only just now I saw a sardine opener on the table, and everybody knows that means there are sardines about somewhere. Now, pull yourself together and come with me and forage. Come on, come on.
Hold the lantern up a bit, Tommy. Where's Uncle Bill? No coughing up. I say 1, 2, 3.
What's that?
I think it must be the field mice.
Oh.
They go round carols singing at this time of year. They come to Mole End last of all. I used to give them hot drinks and supper.
Well, let's have a look at them, eh?
1, 2, 3.
Here we stand in the cold and the sleet, glowing fingers and stamping feet. You by the fire and we in the street, bidding you joy in the morning. Good man Joseph toiled through the snow, saw the star o'er a stable low.
Mary, she might not further go.
Joy came to her in the morning, and then they heard the angels tell, who were the first to cry Noel, the beasts that in the stable dwell. Joy shall be theirs in the morning.
Well
done,
Very well sung, boys. And now come along in, all of you, and warm yourselves by the fire. Come on, have something hot, eh?
This is quite like old times. Shut the door after you. Come along. Come along. Oh, Ratty, whatever are we going to do? We've nothing to give them.
You leave all that to me. Here, you with the lantern, here.
Yes, sir.
Tell me, are there any shops open at this hour of the night?
Oh, why, certainly, sir. This time of the year, our shops keep open to all sorts of hours.
Oh, no, then off you go at once, you and your lantern, and get me some... No, a pound of that. Fresh, mind. No, I think a pound of that.
Before long, the field mouse with the lantern reappeared, staggering under the weight of his basket. In a very few minutes, supper was ready, and they ate and talked of old times and had a very pleasant time of it. The field mice clattered off at last, very grateful and showering wishes of the season, with their jacket pockets stuffed with gifts for the small brothers and sisters at home. When the door had closed on the last of them, Mole and Rat kicked the fire up, drew their chairs in, and stretched their tired feet out.
Mole, old chap. I'm ready to drop. Sleepy is simply not the word. That your bunk over there? Oh, very well, then I'll take this. What a ripping little house this is. Hey, everything's so handy. There we go. Oh. Good night, Moley.
Good night.
Soon Mole had his head on his pillow in great joy and contentment. But before he closed his eyes, he let them wander round his old room, mellow in the glow of the firelight that played or rested on familiar and friendly things which had long been a part of him. He saw clearly how plain and simple, how narrow even it all was, but clearly, too, how much it all meant to him, and the special value of some such anchorage in one's existence. He would return to the upper world, he knew, but it was good to think he had this to come back to, this place which was all his own, these things which were so glad to see him again, and could always be counted upon for the same
simple welcome. It was a bright morning in the early part of summer, and a hot sun seemed to be pulling everything green and bushy and spiky up out of the earth towards him as if by strings. The mole and the water rat were finishing breakfast when a heavy knock sounded at the door.
Bother. Oh, see who it is, Mole, like a good chap since you've finished, eh?
Mr. Badger.
The hour has come.
What hour?
Whose hour, you should rather say? Why, Toad's hour, the hour of Toad. I said I would take him in hand as soon as the winter was well over, and I'm going to take him in hand today.
Well, Toad's hour, of course. I remember now. We'll teach him to be a sensible toad.
This very morning, another new and powerful motor car will arrive at Toad Hall. We must be up and doing before it's too late. You two animals will accompany me instantly to Toad Hall, and the work of rescue shall begin.
Right you are. We'll rescue him. We'll convert him. He'll be the most converted toad that ever was before we've done with him, eh? What?
They reached Toad Hall to find, as the Badger had said, a shiny new motor car of great size painted a bright red, Toad's favorite color, standing in front of the house. As they neared the door, it was flung open, and Mr. Toad, arrayed in goggles, cap, and coat, came swaggering down the steps, drawing on his gloves.
Hello! You fellows are just in time to come with me for a jolly ride.
Take him inside.
What's this? What are you doing?
Come on, Toad.
Ratty, tell the chauffeur he won't be needed today. Toad has changed his mind.
No.
He won't require the car.
But that's a really...
Now then, first of all, take those ridiculous things off.
Shan't. What's the meaning of this gross outrage?
Take them off, and then you two. Come on, off with the clothes. You knew it must come to this sooner or later, Toad. You've disregarded all the warnings we've given you.
And you're squandering the money your father left you.
And you're getting us animals a bad name by your furious driving and your smashes and your rows with the police.
We never allow our friends to make fools of themselves beyond a certain limit. And that limit you've reached. Now, you're a good fellow in many respects, and I don't want to be too hard on you. I'll make one more effort to bring you to reason. Come with me into the library, and there you'll hear some facts about yourself. We'll see whether you come out of that room the same Toad that you went in. Come along.
That's no good. Talking to Toad will never cure him. He'll say anything.
After some 3/4 of an hour, the door opened and the Badger reappeared, solemnly leading by the paw a very limp and dejected Toad.
Sit down there, Toad. My friends, I'm pleased to inform you that Toad has at last seen the error of his ways. He has promised to give up motor cars entirely and forever.
That is very good news.
Very good news indeed, if only...
Toad, I want you solemnly to repeat before your friends here what you fully admitted to me in the library just now. First, you are sorry for what you've done, and you see the folly of it all.
No, I'm not sorry.
What?
It wasn't funny at all.
Toady.
It was simply glorious.
What didn't you tell me just now and there?
Oh, yes, in there. I'd have said anything in there.
Ah, then you don't promise never to touch a motor car again?
Certainly not.
Told you so, didn't I, Moley?
Very well, then, since you won't yield to persuasion, we'll try what force can do.
What?
Take him upstairs, you two, and lock him in his bedroom.
Oh, I can't. It's for your own good, Toby.
We'll take care of everything, and we'll see your money isn't wasted as it has been.
Oh, yes, you take it. Oh, I think we've got you now.
I've never seen Toad so determined, but we'll see it out. We'll take turns guarding him till the poison has worked itself out of his system.
Here, yes.
Yes.
Good show, madam. Yes.